and welcome to the Game Buzz. I'm Matt, and I'm joined here once again by Carl Phillips
Hello.
and by Jonathan Lester.
Hi there.
And it might not be the most sort of important news of the week, but it certainly caused a bit of a stir. So let's kick off with Don Mattrick, the face of Xbox One, departing Microsoft this week. He's jumped ship for Zynga. What do we think about that?
Well, first of all, he's going to make a lot of money. I mean, he's over the course of this next few years, he's going to earn untold millions in terms of pay and stock for this thing, and he's also going to be able to add CEO to his CV, which is clearly something he's been doing because he's been working his way up the Microsoft ladder and sort of hit the ceiling a bit. So this is probably always going to happen at some point. But yeah, the timing is unfortunate, isn't it? Because lots of people have been saying, oh, Microsoft have been, even Atari's founder Nolan Bushnell says that Microsoft totally mishandled this reveal. And now their main man, Don Mattrick, as you said, the face of Xbox One, has said, right, so yeah, I'm off to Zynga now. It's unfortunate, but I don't think the whole backlash about the Xbox One actually really led to him going. I mean, these things take months to sort out in terms of contracts and that. And fair play to him, I guess.
It's quite an interesting jump in a number of ways. I mean, Zynga's Mark Pincus has basically said, look, if I could find a CEO who'd be able to do the job better than me, I would have brought him in sooner. But Don's our man. He's gonna be doing this. And Zynga haven't had the best 12 months.
No, that whole social bubble burst pretty hard, and Zynga was sitting precariously on top of it. So either way, their stocks have finally started going up after this because, someone who has a proven track record in very shrewd business. Because say whatever you want about Don Mattrick, I mean, he is the man who, after his predecessor said, yeah, Xbox 360, let's get some community games on there, let's support the indies. Mattrick was the guy who said, nah, let's forget about it. And crush that and just concentrate on the ports and the timed exclusives and not buy studios properly. He's a very shrewd businessman, and he'll probably do quite well at Zynga, I guess. Zynga. I've got to be honest, though. Is anyone else surprised that he didn't end up as CEO of EA? Because, come on, there's a power vacuum over there at the moment. They're still looking for a CEO. They still haven't appointed anyone. Surely Mattrick's the man for that job. A man who's actually more, whose skill set lies in very shrewd, very hard-edged business over perhaps games themselves and the way they're developed. I mean, surely that is he's overqualified for that position.
Well, it's interesting you say that because a man we are not allowed to name on our site said much the same thing. So that this basically puts EA back to square one because they were gunning for him.
Oh yes, that analyst who said that Borderlands was going to flop and be awful. That one. That guy.
One. Yeah, that guy.
That guy.
Him.
Screw that guy.
But yeah, no, you're right. EA could have done with someone like Mattrick. And it's quite interesting the position it puts him in as well with the Xbox One now, because he's still going to be sort of affiliated with it, but now it's sort of a win-win situation for him. If it works out well, then he could take loads of credit for being there in the early stages, going, "No, I settled this in motion." And then if it flops, he can be like, "Well, I got out just before the ship sank." So it's kind of all right. It works, and he's gonna, as you say, earn untold millions.
Oh yeah, a massive freaking fortune. But as I said earlier, the timing is just a little bit unfortunate. The Xbox One is floundering in terms of its reveal, and it's the continued revelations surrounding it from all number of sources, and to have its main man jump ship for someone like Zynga, who are not necessarily the most beloved gaming company on the planet, let's face it, considering all the allegations, the totally true allegations of them just ripping loads of people off, it's a bit suggestive. It's not exactly going to help the Microsoft brand. But on the other hand, in the long run, it might. If they can get some creatives, if they can get some people in to fill the gap that Mattrick has left, they've already have sorted out a successor for him. But if they can get a crew of real creatives, people like Jay Allard used to be. You remember Jay Allard? Designed the original Xbox, designing it to be this, designing it with development in mind, developing it with what cool stuff can we do on this console rather than how best can we market it and dominate our user base. If we can get more people like that involved, I think Microsoft could really benefit from this.
That would be pretty sweet.
Wouldn't
But of course, as we've seen elsewhere this week, Microsoft seemingly have designed the Xbox One with advertising in mind.
Oh, yes. That's a direct quote from some of Xbox Live's advertising department who Stick Twiddlers interviewed a little while ago. And yeah, that's interesting. I mean, we suspected that because a while back they launched the new ad campaign, those exciting, funky new adverts that totally blare out ridiculous, obnoxious music over your speakers every time you accidentally move your controller cursor over one. But yeah, what they've said is the new OS is going to contain more subtle adverts that use the metrics in a much more intelligent way to target content directly at you. It will use Connect in a sort of much more fundamental way and let you actually interact with the adverts. A lot of them will almost be mini games. And yeah, I have to be honest, this is kind of the last thing the Xbox One really needed right now.
It's just sad, and but like we've sort of been laughably predicting all of this, like adverts stop me in the middle of my game or film that I'm just gonna have to play around with for half an hour, and sort of jump up, do some star jumps for Connect, and then I'll be able to continue absorbing my content. You bastards.
Yes, this program will not resume playback until we see you with that bottle of Mountain Dew in your hand. Now, that's it. Twist the cap off. Twist it. We can see you doing it. Now, drink it. Drink it.
Finish the bottle.
Exactly. Now go out and get another one, and we'll think about playing the next half of this episode. But on the other hand, I do think it's easy to sort of rage about this because, let's face it, the adverts on Xbox 360 are nauseating. But there is perhaps a ray of light in here. They have said that the adverts will be more subtle. And part of the problem with the Xbox 360's ads is they're so obtrusive. They're just slapped down onto an OS that isn't really appropriate for them. They're just like right there. They're just right there in the middle of your user experience. And if the Xbox One OS is designed around them, hopefully, they will be implemented in a much more just pleasing and less obtrusive way. And also more to the point, because you can talk to your Kinect, you should just be able to say Xbox, play, whatever it is, without having to even interact with that OS.
Yeah, it's interesting as well, like this talk about metrics, and like we know about developers are going to be able to sort of tap into a whole bunch of player information. Microsoft has said that advertisers will have access to a tiny fraction of that information, but I kind of want to know more about that. I want to know how much, and how can I opt out?
Yes, the key is, I think, how much, because I think it's okay because what Xbox 360 already does is it, on a very basic level, it looks at the games you've got, and then these are the adverts I like on the Xbox 360, the recommendations. It looks at what you play, it looks at what you buy, and then suggests in a little corner of the marketplace what games you might like. That, I think, is a great idea. That I would like to, in fact, see more of. I would like it to look at what I buy, look at what I consume, and say, he is into shooters, he's into shmups, he's into RPGs. Maybe he would like this particular game that maybe he hasn't considered before. I like the idea of that. I think the key, though, will be we really need to know how much Kinect data is being collected. Like, is it looking at the blood flow in my face while I'm watching a particular advert? Is it looking at how many people are in my room and the demographic breakdown of them in terms of gender and in terms of perhaps, I don't know, age or something like that? How much is it deriving from that sensor? We really, really need to know the specifics of that.
Yeah, and I like what you said about recommendations there. There's enormous scope for that to be widened out, especially when it comes to smaller titles, a more cluttered marketplace when it comes to like Microsoft surely will at some point maybe have to kind of announce some sort of indie thing, you'd think, given that they have an operating system now across, pretty much all sectors. One unified operating system, all sectors, use it. And in that case, like, it would have been perfect for XBig, it's perfect for XBLA, for like getting those smaller titles out in front of people by way of recommendation and based on playing habits. And I really like that idea.
Yeah, right. I mean, I would be happy with a small. Well, I do still hate the idea of being bombarded with adverts in a premium service. That sucks ball bag. But if there are a small number of fun adverts that are directly tying into what I like, to things I like, I'd probably be okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we will see. We will see how this goes, because as you said about the indie stuff, I mean, that is a fantastic and that's a great idea. But I think some of the bigger companies will probably in a position to give Microsoft a bunch of money for sponsored recommendations and the like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. Probably. On to something good. Well, something something that was supposed to be good that Microsoft tried to do. The Games for Gold incentive. Now, we all got quite excited when Microsoft announced Games for Gold. We didn't quite realize exactly how precise their wording was at the time. And they mentioned Halo 3 and they mentioned Assassin's Creed 2, and we all kind of went, well, you're launching with that. That's not that impressive.
No.
But we went, hey, free games. They're good games, at least. Hooray. Of course, it turns out that actually Microsoft never really said that they were launching the service with these games, even though that their Xbox support channel totally said that. And so, yes, it comes to the first month, this July. And is it Defense Grid?
Yeah.
Defense Grid landed, which is a good game. But for launching a good thing, a really good thing, a really awesome thing, Microsoft, you're giving away free games as part of your Xbox Gold service. Yes, this is to be trumpeted. This is to be shouted from the rooftops. Start with a bigger game than that.
Well, look, here's the thing. Defense Grid is sick. All right, Defense Grid is a really good game. And I think it was a good launch game for this service. I do think it was a good choice. It's slightly niche, but it's really good. It deserves the publicity, but especially because they've managed to fund a sequel as well. But it shouldn't have been the only game, should it? Like, for God's sake, if you're going to go the indie route, the downloadable route for your launch titles, which was a good idea, get Bastion. Get I don't know, like Counter-Strike Global Ops on there. Get Dust and Elysian Tale on there. Get some games that aren't 4 years old on there. And I've got to be honest with you, I have Assassin's Creed 2, I have Halo 3, so does everyone in the world who owns an Xbox 360. So that, I'm not hugely disappointed that those weren't available at launch. But yeah, they had the opportunity to at least peddle a wider range of software. I mean, look, God knows, like, they could have given us Hybrid, for example. That game, that pretty good multiplayer shooter that came out last year and totally tanked. Why the hell not give that out for free? Or something like Fruit Ninja Connect or something, I don't know. Just a little range of software, some fun and cool stuff that people might not have tried and will download and say, wow, this is really fun. I mean, as it is, Defense Grid is really good. So I'm not that bothered. It's really good.
It's really good.
It's also not good enough to be the poster boy for this service. That's not its fault.
No.
But yeah, this cannot be denied.
And it comes down to something that like we've been chatting about a lot. Like Carl, you and I chatted about this a lot when John was away. Like the communication factor that Microsoft seemed to be unable to sort of get out of their own way.
I'm bored of discussing it, to be honest with you. Sort it out. That's it. Sort it out, Microsoft. I'm done. End of discussion. There's my communication for you.
Why won't you talk to me? Sorry, I've been listening to a lot of Pink Floyd recently. Freaking love the Division Bells. Great album.
Yeah. Okay. Let's kick Microsoft to the curb for this podcast now. Punt. Yay! That's the crowd cheering as it sails through the goalposts. Broken Age. John, you got quite emotional about about Broken Age this week.
Well, no, I tried my best to. Well, as I say, I said many times that I'm not a backer and I couldn't give. I have no stake in this, and I do not care at all what happens about this project. I just want to play it at some point. It's not kind of almost none of my business. I didn't back the Double Fine adventure, and I mentioned that several times. Doesn't bother me in the least. However, there was some interesting news about it this week, in that Double Fine raised an enormous amount of money, and they've been revealing exciting new details about the Double Fine adventure, which became Broken Age, which became this sort of very ambitious game where you've got two people existing at different points in space and time. That was all great. We didn't care that the October 2012 release date slipped past. That's cool. Doesn't matter. But they've now said that the project has become so big and so ambitious that the millions they've already raised is not enough. And what they're going to have to do is split it in half and deliver the first half in January 2014 in order to fund the next half. And a lot of backers have been getting rather peeved about that. And it's quite a difficult argument, because on the one hand, this is the joy of Kickstarter. They raised a lot of money. They're not beholden to a publisher. They could well use this money to create a better, more polished game. They've had a big idea. It's great to see a developer not having their creativity constrained by the usual publishing cycle. It's good to see that. And this is hopefully going to result in a really superior adventure game at the end of this cycle. But on the other hand, they said that they would release an adventure game in a few months, and that's why people backed it. People backed it on that promise. They backed it on that premise. And now to have Double Fine say, actually, sorry, we've got to split it in half, give you half a game next year, give you the other half like much later on in the year, is a bit disappointing. And it smacks of just... It genuinely, it smacks of just bad management all round, because Tim Schafer's a great creative, but I hate to say this, but I think he really should have kept a much stronger grip on the purse strings here. One
of the things we said when Double Fine started the Double Fine adventure project was that, holy shit, this is exciting, potentially, cutting out publishers, creating this connection between developers and their community. And what's been interesting about this is that sort of the negative comments that have arisen from this situation, understandable negative comments, they're exactly the same sort of comments that you could imagine sort of the board at a major publisher saying, like, Tim, it's been months. Why is it now 2 games? And why has the budget gone up to 5 million? And what happened to the original brief? And what's going on, Tim? And you can kind of understand it, and it's very interesting, kind of almost a bizarre social experiment in a way, that seeing the community become the publishing body, but yeah, I kind of agree with you, and you made a very, very good point about plenty of people creating adventure games on a shoestring budget, and linking to I think in the news post we ran, there's that link to that Robert Boyd quote about feature bloat and warning against it on Kickstarter, which really must be at the forefront of developers' minds going into this sort of thing. And one of the things about the Double Fine adventure was that, unlike many projects that we'd seen, it was at the complete beginning. They didn't have a plan, really. They didn't have the game fleshed out, really.
No, they didn't deliver a design document. They literally said, we need a minimum amount of money and we'll make a game with it. is
Yeah.
basically what they said. So, you do have to bear that in mind when criticizing this move.
But I mean, it's an interesting one, and it's gonna be interesting to see where Schaefer and Double Fine go from here in terms of what backers get for their input. Do they
They
get?
are definitely
versions?
getting both halves. They're
That's-
definitely getting both halves. He said that explicitly in the update. What was interesting, though, is that he then came out with this very defensive series of tweets saying, we are not asking for more money. We're going to fund this with our own money. And lots of gamers said, yeah, come on, what's the problem? And the problem is that that's not actually what it says in the backer update. Because what it said in that original update was, actually, we do need more money. We can't go to a publisher because that would make a total mockery of why we did this in the first place. We can't really find an investor. So to get this money, we are going to have to release the first half and make it sell.
Yep.
And then that will become our own money. And he even said in that backer update, we could use some of that money we've been making on all the other games we've been making, but we can't do that for reasons. There are total reasons why we can't spend our own money on that. And then came out in a tweet saying, no, we're spending our own money. It's like, no, you're spending your own money that you're going to make because you split this game in half. There's a difference there. And as I say, it doesn't hugely bother me. I didn't back this. I didn't back this because I took issue with a few points made in the campaign, like the whole, this is the only way adventure games can get funded. No publisher will touch them, even though they do, and it doesn't matter. But yeah, I still think there's a few holes in this, and I can totally, absolutely appreciate why people are bummed out about this. There are an equal number of people who are totally happy about this and defending them, even including fellow developers as well.
Mm.
Though American McGee took the opportunity to defend Double Fine before putting an extra $100,000 stretch goal on his own zombie quick Kickstarter and said, yeah, it's fine that they need more money. Also, I need more money. But yeah, it's an odd situation, and it basically comes down to the end is going to have to justify the means here. If Double Fine comes out with a truly superior adventure game, if they come out with a game that not just emulates the classic point-and-click adventures of yesteryear, and it'll be annoying if that happens, because if it's just a good, polished adventure game, it'll be like, well, people do that on a shoestring budget to deadline all the time without publishers, and with publishers all the time. But if they come out with this real transcendent product, it won't matter one bit.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point. They've really heaped pressure on themselves now. They've said, look, okay, we've had this amazing idea, and it's pushed the budget up to 5 million, and we just need a little bit more money, and then we'll be able to give this game to you in like, we're having to divide it into 2 bits, but it's going to be totally worth it, and it really needs to be, because yeah, as you say, the adventure games didn't go anywhere. There are loads of really awesome, fantastic adventure games out there being made for fractions of that money.
We're talking sometimes less than 1% of that budget.
So yes, that'll be an interesting continuing saga to see unfold. Speaking of sagas, the SimCity saga took another little slight twist this week with the emergence of what looks like an EA questionnaire that first got published on Reddit and then surfaced elsewhere online, where I can't believe I'm saying this. They're asking players whether they'd like to see bigger cities.
Yeah, because
yes,
they don't.
Of course we do.
Yeah, but it's like that BioWare thing that happened a while back. They were like, oh, we didn't know that players wanted all these obvious features that clearly they want, so we didn't put them in. It seems bizarre, doesn't it? Saying, would you like large cities? Would you like an offline mode so you can play it when you move house and haven't set up an ISP? Would you like that? We don't know whether or not you would. I mean, we're just interested. There's lots of other features in there as well, like overpasses and underpasses and terraforming and all sorts of other fun little fripperies that could well end up as DLC, of course. But yeah, I don't know what to make of it. I mean, it's not even a statement of intent. It's just saying, hey, look at how much we totally respect you guys. We're asking your opinion, so this questionnaire can sit on a hard drive in the dark corner of the office forever. But
it annoys me. It
you
annoys
never
me
know.
because of EA's recent drive to present themselves as something other than corporate money-grabbing shills, and it doesn't help. It just perpetuates that image even more, and
But it does. They totally want your input. Although they didn't send either of you an email, apparently.
No, didn't you
Huh.
get
They
one?
don't want you. They don't want your input.
So just do it. Yeah, just make an offline mode. Make a version. Create a region with expanded city limits and just put it on there, and people will cheer. I will cheer. I will make a video of myself cheering, possibly tearing off clothes and going, yay! Probably not doing that because I don't think that's allowed on YouTube. But that's beside the point. People will cheer. It will be great. Just you don't need to send out a questionnaire to know this. You've known this from the very start. Fucking do it, and we can be done with all of this. And we can go back to your game. That game that everyone fucking hates. But whenever you put up an update on Facebook or any social network, people go, bigger city limits. And we can
straight away.
Straight away.
Straight away.
Like, we can go back to it after you do this. This is all that there is left. And fuck, it makes me angry, so we're not going to talk about it anymore.
But at least you can buy some hot air balloons. Yay! Hot air balloons, because when your traffic system is totally balked, you might as well add hot air balloons. Cut out the problem.
Yay. Although I do like the look of that penguin one. It looks quite cute.
Looks great, doesn't it? It's like sort of... It's kind of like... Looks like they've sort of partnered with Linux or something.
Don't want to pat it. Like
yeah. Yeah, I want to install Linux. Every time I see that penguin, it's like, wow.
Right, last one before we head out for the weekend. I want to touch on an article that got a fair few hits and a fair few comments this week. And it's over this games versus specifications argument. Which one's more important? Do gamers want specs and power, or do gamers want games? Or is it kind of a middle ground between both?
Well, what it is right now, gamers want specs. This happens every single console generation. As soon as the next generation is announced, everyone goes, "Oh my God, the specifications! Oh, look at all the RAMs and all the teraflops of bits." So that's great. You know, that's important to know. The specs are, of course, very important. If you're a developer, they're very important. However, no console generation has ever been won, and I hate that term, but it's really link-baity, so I'm going to use it. No console generation has ever been won by the console that has the most powerful specs. It has never, ever happened. Ever. Not once. So that's the thing. But before the generation kicks off, everyone says, "Oh, it's trying to just one up each other in the whole fanboy wars, going, oh, look, my console could beat up your console." And then a year down the line, the whole thing switches to the quality of the exclusives and the quality of the service, which is the important thing for consumers. And that's what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, to be honest, I mean, that thing is, though, I mean, Microsoft have said their piece on this. I've just said my piece on this. What actually matters is, like, you guys tell us what is most important to you, and actually that's the most important thing here. We're talking about what the gamers want. Like, tell us, damn it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, like, specs are important to some people. There are always going to be fanboys when it comes to the console wars, as we say, and like and that stuff will be important to them. It will be, and that whole sort of playground mentality. However risible we might find it or mildly amusing, it serves a purpose in this industry, and these things do matter. But you're right. We say this mantra all the time. It's all about the games, and it always is. And whether those games are determined by features and power and specs, because actually for this generation, they might be. With Microsoft's sort of connectivity and Connect-based service, uh, that might come into play a lot. So sort of technical specs may well have a significant bearing in
But that's a
on
feature.
different games.
That's nothing to do with specs. I mean, look at the Wii. I mean, that thing didn't have that thing is basically a calculator watch, but it had a cool, easy to understand peripheral that was really fun and tied fundamentally into how you use it. Am I saying Kinect is a Wiimote? That might be what I'm saying here. But that's nothing to do with specifications. That's a feature, is what that is. Otherwise, these two consoles look like pretty decent gaming PCs. Both of them do.
And so the answer for you always end up going back to is just get a PC.
Well, thing is though, if you buy either of these consoles, you get a PC.
Yeah.
Yeah. So get a PC. Whatever you do, you're getting a PC. It's happening.
Awesome sauce. Well, the sun's shining. I think it's time to go. That's pretty much all of the news for this week. Thank you very much for listening, guys. Enjoy the sunny weekend. Put some headphones in. Listen to this outside. Try not to get burnt with a massive ball of fire in the sky.
I was going to say, Matt, that's irresponsible. Don't tell people to go outside. It's horrible out there. Also, they probably won't be able to read the site because they glare on their phones. Stay inside. Read dealspone.com. It's safe inside.
In any case, thanks for listening, guys. We'll catch you next time. Enjoy the weekend. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Stay inside.